This is the very first episode of Field Notes. Hoping to have a mixture of audio and video, but unfortunately today I do not have a setup yet in my office to do two people. So this is Field Notes. It's an MSOP podcast by MSOP for MSOP. It chronicles the travels that I do throughout the country and all of the different things that are going on, and to kind of just give a little bit of an update recruiting-wise, and also kind of giving an idea of those that are looking into ministry. You know, the goal of this, Field Notes is to genuinely give information from me out in the field. So I have with me today a guest, Drew Smith. Drew, you are a graduate of the Memphis School of Preaching.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I hate to tell you this, but we lied to you. No, I'm glad that you've graduated. I wanted to get you on to discuss kind of your backstory a little bit, how you found the church and how you became a student here. I know that sounds like I'm trying to fish for you to talk about me because I did recruit you, but I was not the main reason that you came. And so I do want that to be kind of on the record. I know I travel to different congregations every week, and I put your picture up and talk about you. And so sometimes I worry that when I tell the story from my perspective on my side of things, it just sounds like, and if it weren't for me, Drew would not have come to school. You told me even recently you had already pretty much made your mind up. So I'm excited to get a chance to talk to you about this. Drew, tell us your religious background.
I grew up in the Disciples of Christ denomination. I was baptized somewhere around the 6th grade, so 10 to 12. I don't remember how old I was. Grew up, was a junior deacon because they made us teenagers junior deacons. Still don't understand what a junior deacon is or what biblical authority that there is for it. But for a while, I kind of left religiousness and was doing my own thing. And as I got through towards the end of college, I started to go back towards God, started reading my Bible more, having relationships that influenced me to go back into the Bible and try to learn it better for myself, which then led me to 2020. I was in one of those relationships. Then the Authentic Christian podcast came out, and it was that podcast that got me thinking, well, maybe my baptism wasn't right. Maybe I'm not even in the right place. And so over the next few years, I continued reading and reading my Bible, that is, and then listening to that podcast. In about 2022, I was a tax accountant, got the opportunity at a young age for that, for a young man to be a tax practice owner with another guy. And after taking over that practice, I met a couple by the name of Galen and Diana McCorkle. I hope it's okay that I can use their names.
It's not my information, so go ahead.
Hey,
what's their social security numbers? No,
I can't give you that.
But you know it?
No.
I was about to say.
At one point, I could have.
Well, yeah, I guess you were their accountant.
I was their tax accountant.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, I was about to say that would be a weird thing to just pull out of nowhere, but okay, go ahead.
But I knew that they were members of the church, and so the next tax season, I was having some discussions with some people, and they're like, "You really need to get back going to church." And so I called them up one weekend. An hour and a half later, I learned the times that they met there in Trenton, that they weren't going to be there, that the preacher wasn't going to be there, and that alcohol is wrong from the very first sip. And that was a lot to handle in that hour and a half conversation.
Had you been drinking at that time? Was that why they brought that up? Or
I guess so. I don't know if I ever brought it up with them.
Yeah.
But that was like, I was living that lifestyle.
Sure.
I wouldn't call myself in worldly terms a drunk, but biblical standards, yes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Had gone there. But that very first Sunday, funny enough, Calvin Barrett, another MSOP grad, was the one that preached that Sunday. And so it was interesting to get to meet him. And then now, a couple years later, I've gotten to know him better through other opportunities and kind of share that. But continuing on, a couple weeks later, I meet Dustin Wilson, who's now the preacher at the Highland Drive Church of Christ in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We started having some Bible studies together, talking about alcohol and salvation and a few other things, and which led me on March 23rd of 2023 to be baptized into Christ, to leave my denominational ways and just come to New Testament Christianity, the truth.
Yeah.
And Dustin always recounts that it was an easier Bible study for him because I knew somewhat the Bible and could go places a lot easier than some people. And he recounted later that he hoped that one day I would go to preaching school. Well, to both of our surprises in August, I kind of hit a point with my work that that's not what I wanted to do. It's not where I could help the most people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always wanted to help people as much as I could.
Yeah.
But you can only do so much in the tax business. But there is a business, the business of salvation, that is, we need people to be in that business. And so starting in August, I looked at Memphis. I think sometime in September, you and I had talked on the phone. Then we met for a couple days on a little recruiting trip down here with Dustin. And it was during that time that we had discussed like what it would take for me to get to Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
As you stated, I was set on coming here, but it was figuring out the logistics.
Yeah.
Because at that time, I had a sort of promissory note for my business partner and I to buy up my ownership to where I was a full 25% owner. And that was going to take a few years. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, if I do this, I'm going to owe all this money. And then I still remember what you said. Is he a religious guy? Well, he's a Methodist, so was my response. And basically quoted to me James 4:3, you have not because you ask not. And so the next week after I get back home, I give my 90-day notice as our partnership agreement dictated, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
I was supposed to come in January.
Yeah.
And in one weekend, that changed to November. And I'm sure it sounded quite frantic whenever I texted you about that.
I do remember you being like, could I come in November? And I was like, yeah, why not? I mean, I remember the conversation about your business partner and you saying he's a Methodist. I said, that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, does he believe that there's a God? That's the whole question here. And to the point that I made then, I'll say it now for those that might be listening, and they're on the fence maybe about preaching school and on the fence maybe about Memphis. Mm-hmm. James 4:3 is quite possibly one of the most underutilized commands, same as when Jesus said, ask and it shall be given to you in Matthew, seek and you will find, knock, the door will be open. Mm-hmm. And the idea that you actually implemented, which is at times rare. I talk to a lot of people, and not a lot of people actually take the leap and actually do this because they do worry about certain things. And the idea that God will take care of me in spite of this insurmountable thing is really what faith is all about. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed. You know, I had told you, go have lunch with him. You didn't do that. So you didn't even take my advice. But I told you, like, take him out to lunch, humor me, and tell him what you want to do, and just see what he says. Because the worst he could say is no. And then if you don't want to come for a few years, I even told you, like, we'll navigate that if that happens. And to your business partner's credit, he graciously allowed you to come with no debt to be owed, in the sense of, I'll support you in this way, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, that's huge, you know, and though we would probably say we would disagree on some things in the Bible, I don't deny that he is probably the greatest financial support you received in coming here in the beginning.
Mhm.
Obviously, your supporters who stuck with you for 2 and almost 2 more years now as you start the graduate program, they have definitely made a massive impact. You couldn't have done it without them. But a 25% ownership of a business like that is not a small amount of money. And for him to allow you to just walk away from that with no strings attached is huge. And so credit to him for that. And maybe now that you've had some training, maybe you'll have the ability to talk to him, and who knows what could happen. But I was very impressed when I got the text from you that said, can I come in November? Because we at the school, we take people who are new converts. We always don't know, though, how that's going to go. I mean, you're talking about a school that was initially designed for men who had been in the faith for at least 5 to 10 years and that were seasoned men in their own lives as far as maybe in their 30s, 40s, and you didn't check any of those boxes as far as, I mean, you were in your 20s. What was it, 26? No, 25? 24, that's right, because you're about to turn 27. So 24, almost 25, you're in your mid-20s, and you are in your mid part of the first half of your Christianity of the first year. You didn't check any of the boxes that the school was initially designed for, but you have done very well and graduating from the school. And I think that's something, one of the reasons I really did want to talk to you was the understanding that this school is not designed to truly weed out the people who are capable of ministry but will struggle with a workload. This school is designed to weed out those that really don't want to be in ministry.
Correct.
And those that put their mind to it and put their heart and their effort, they will graduate this school.
Absolutely.
And I want to ask, before we move on to that part, is there anything else you want to say about your background and all that before we get into the actual Memphis side of things?
No, that's really a good overview of all that led to me coming here.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
And like I said at the beginning of this, I never truly felt like I'm the reason you came. I know I had a part to play, and I know that Dustin, contacted me up and asked about coming, and we did. What was it, like 2 days total? Did you stay with us?
I didn't.
Or you stayed on campus with another student, right?
A show apartment.
That's right.
I think it's the one that was given a Cliff
right.
Goodwin.
We don't always have the ability to do that,
Yeah.
and so we actually had that time. A lot of times we'll end up having you stay with other students, or we have a guest bed in our apartment, so sometimes they'll stay with us, and the other will stay with another student. But we were able to work that out. What was your experience touring the school? How was your tour guide? How did he do? What? It was me, by the way. I'm trying to get those that are listening at home a feel for what the process of a tour looks like, because I think sometimes that's one of the most underutilized things. I love it when people want to come and tour the school. I enjoy that so much, and I want more of those to happen. So talk about your time touring MSOP. What were the highlights for you? What were some things that maybe initially concerned you? Just paint a picture.
So, well, you may not remember this, but I surely do. You had to go get tires for the Tahoe that day, and you were running behind. Fortunately, Brother Cates was here, and Dustin, former graduate of the school too, was so excited to see Brother Cates, and he immediately took us down to the library where his mom used to be the librarian, and now his daughter's the librarian, which is amazing. And he got to show us all of the artifacts that are there, talk about the reference section and a few other things with the library. And it was so nice to have him, get to meet him, number one, but also to see his face light up with all these little different artifacts that we have. And just to understand, we have something special here with just the library. And we haven't even touched the building, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd have been inside of it, but not.
Right. Hadn't gotten the behind-the-scenes picture yet.
Correct. And whenever you did get here, we went to lunch, which was wonderful.
Where did we go?
La Hacienda.
Was it La Hacienda?
Yeah.
Was she our waitress then, too?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. There's someone that we usually, when we go to La Hacienda, because that's almost always where we end up taking people, there is a woman that works there that is very fast and efficient and very good at her job. And so we always try to request her. but I don't think we were requesting her at that time. But you've eaten with me enough since then that you kind of know, okay, if we're going there, she's probably the one working that day. So
it's nice. And especially whenever I go by myself or with others and she's there. It's
because she remembers you.
Yeah.
And she'll talk to you and she's nice, you know, and that's something that's kind of neat that this job has afforded me the opportunity to make a connection in that way too, and trying to reach out. And it's a small world. I had a recruit with me just recently, and he recognized her as his coach's wife. And he's a wrestler, and he was like, that's my coach's wife. And I was like, what? And so it's just a small world, you know, but we did get to go to lunch that day. I don't want to take up more of what you're going to say, but we went to lunch. What else do you remember about the tour and everything?
Then we started to walk around the building. You showed us the classrooms, kind of what it would be like in them. Went into our studio, which looks even different, I believe, now than it did then, with some of the upgrades and other things that have been done. And then we went into the chapel hall, and I remember you telling me, get behind the pulpit, and asking me, notice how small it is, and then kind of giving me what they would go over in a critique typically.
Yeah.
Which in my 2 years here, I never heard anything about that, but they did talk about platform movement and things and how it can be distracting. But
they want you to climb the pulpit. And that's the phrase I always use. It doesn't sound right when you hear it, because when you hear climb the pulpit, you think like climb on top of it. That's not what it means. It means go up and down, not side to side. That's the idea that they typically try to get across. But then you have people that they'll break that rule. Like Brother Kane breaks that rule every Sunday almost, you know, and that's okay. Like it's not a hard fast. It's the only way to preach, but it's designed to be so narrow that if you are going to be one that moves around, Brother Webster's another one, you do it with an intent. You don't just do it to do it.
Yeah.
And I know Robert Jeffries is one that's a graduate of the school. He also likes to move around while preaching. And he does that because in his mind, he's connecting more with the audience. But those that are like me, or like I am, you had an opportunity, you didn't take it. Those that are like I am, we like to climb the pulpit is what we call it. Where you notice when I preach, I go up and down. I literally pace up and back, forward and backward.
Your dad's the same way.
And that's a lot of where I learned it, was just watching him all my life. And that's called climbing the pulpit, at least what I was taught when I was in school. And so, yeah, we did talk about that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And then we, Dustin and I got to sit in on the parable seminar that was going on. And that was wonderful. It was my first introduction to Brother McDaniel. And I was just loving the material that we were getting. And even at the end of the day, though we sat in that seminar for 1 hour, I think, he still was like, yeah, I'll send you my PowerPoint for the day. And I'm like, I'll take free stuff. I'm not afraid of that. I loved it.
Yeah.
I don't think I've used it yet, but there's been a few things that have been going on since then. And then after that, I think we talked in here for a little bit about the school, any questions I had. Then you let us go to the apartment that you showed us. We stayed there. But then you also took us out to dinner, and we went to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, yeah, because it was during the...
It was Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, that was... Who was playing? The 49ers and someone else, I remember. Because,
I just remember we've never gone to Buffalo Wild Wings
You know,
since.
that's crazy. We haven't. And that's not because I don't like it. It's just, I don't think about going there as often as I do other places. Like, we have a lot of places to eat here. And so...
Wonderful. Like,
yes.
The amount of places we can go.
And so that's kind of like B-dubs. I forget about it all the time. But I remember we went there because I asked if you were a football fan. Yeah. And you told me you're a Chiefs fan.
Don't sound too disappointed there.
So that's going to wrap up this week's episode. No, I'm a pretty big Steelers fan. In fact, the office we're recording in is like a shrine. One half of the office is just Steelers stuff. Like, literally, I haven't thought about this. Literally everything on that wall, because Dwayne Haskins was on the Steelers before he died. That entire wall there, and including over here, all of that is Steelers stuff. I don't see anything that is not Steelers related hanging on those walls. That's crazy. I've done a good job with that. Jacob Kennedy, thank you for hanging all that stuff for me.
Don't forget about the other side of the room.
The other side is a Spider-Man shrine.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. One of the elders here, Brother Eddie Ray, is a big Spider-Man fan, and he's seen some of the stuff in here, and he thought it's pretty cool. And he's told me some of the stuff he's had before, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. I would love to see that. But yeah, we did go to B-Dubs. What did we continue the idea of what we were doing tour-wise? Talk more about that and how that all worked as far as that evening. You left the next day, right?
Yeah, left after lunch. You took us out to Lenny's. Then, shout out to Lenny's.
Yeah,
still keep forgetting about them.
I also forget about them too. I think this was 23, right?
Yeah,
I had only been working here almost 2 years, and I think I was still testing out places. I've kind of come into my own as far as places we would go. So.
But going back to B-Dubs,
yeah,
because what you did there was interesting. I thought you brought in some students.
Oh yeah.
Some married, there was one married guy, and I think the rest were single guys. I remember a couple of them. One of them, Jacob Kennedy, was there.
Yeah,
and all he did was talk to you the entire time. I didn't really get to talk to him, and then the other two were asking me questions, and that was nice. And it helped me gauge all right, what is it going to be like with some of these guys, and kind of getting to know them, so that whenever I would come, it would be just a shock.
Yeah, and I like to do that when we can, especially if in your case, not trying to be mean.
You're always mean to me. I'm joking.
I mean, but I'm not trying to be mean. So we mess with each other a lot, but I'm not trying to be mean when I say this. I knew your exposure to the church was going to be so minuscule compared to what most others would have coming to the school, that I thought it would be best if we did it that way, so you could make some friends pretty immediately and have an idea of I could get along with all these guys. I have stuff in common with them. Was Brandon Blackwell also a part of that? Was he still here at the time? He had graduated, hadn't he?
Yeah.
But I mean, we had a lot of different people that I tried, like you said, to vary it, and I think that ended up being a good thing for you, because you had those people to lean on when you first got here.
Yeah.
And some of them I think were going to be in your class.
Yeah, two of them were. One was in the second year. In the second year.
And so I remember telling them, I'm not going to do any talking really tonight. And I really didn't, if you remember. I just kind of let them talk about the school and talk about their experience. And I remember telling Dustin I had planned to do that. And that seemed to go over very well. And so we stayed almost the whole game, I think. A majority of the game, we were just sitting there talking and shooting the breeze and enjoying it. And you learned that I'm a huge Dr. Pepper fan that night. So, good times.
Yeah, no.
Still is.
Still is. Still
just
are.
kidding. Still am. You still are is right. I was messing with you. We had the opportunity to go to Buffalo Wild Wings. Then we went to Lenny's the next day. What would you say was on your drive back with Dustin? What was that? Because when you left, it was still January, was the idea, right? Wasn't that the initial thought? What was your conversation with Dustin like on the way back? What were the takeaways? What were some things that you really talked about that helped, as far as Memphis was concerned?
I haven't thought about that since those conversations were had.
And I don't anticipate you having an actual line-by-line recall either. No.
I want to say that we talked about the school in general, more of his experience with it, because he had mentioned it before, but he brought up some more things about it. We just kind of talked more and more about through the tour what we had learned, or what I had learned, and how the next steps would kind of look. Because even at that point, it was still January.
Right.
It wasn't until a week and a half after I had left here from the tour that everything had changed.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the 2-year program. Now remember, we want people to attend this program. We know it's tough.
Have I ever seen anything negative about this program?
Not in a serious fashion, no. I mean, we all struggle at times during it. It's a grind.
It is.
I do think that of the 1,100 some odd men that have graduated through this school, those that really did the time of working and laboring and doing, because I don't know all of them, but I know a lot of them, every one of them that had the right attitude coming in, they all know. And some of them might be listening to this thinking, yes, I remember it was tough. And we always say, those of us that have graduated, it was tougher when I went through, but
I've said that already.
Exactly. Yesterday. And you graduated yesterday as the time we're recording this. So we tease with that, but let's talk about the 2-year program. You were a November wraparound. Some people might have no idea what that is. I was a January wraparound. So we got a couple of wraparounds here. Let's wrap our brains around what that phrase means and what that term is. So explain what it is as far as you've always understood it.
So a wraparound is someone that comes in at a non-traditional time. There's 2 of them that are non-traditional. I still count June as kind of a traditional time.
Sure.
Someone that comes in November or January. And essentially what happens is you come into the school, you load up, everything, come down, get your apartment set up, and that next Monday, you're in that quarter. So for me, it was the starting of the second quarter, and I was with the first-year guys. So they had already had a quarter to get to know each other and kind of help decide, because the first week of the first quarter of the second quarter, first year, is whenever they would decide class officers. Then the accountant came in, and, well, the rest is history for the first year.
Yeah.
Then the ones that would come in January, like yourself, would start in the third quarter and would have, in my experience, a much tougher time than had you started in the second quarter. It's not impossible. I've still got several guys that started in January that still are here, and they've made it so far.
I do tell people, though, that January is the time to start. It's just part of that's because I went through it, and so I understand it better than I understand any of the others. You and Brother Kane, of course, were November wraparound, so you have that in common. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was a November wraparound, and so you have that in common with him. You need to mention that next time. Be like, hey, I didn't realize we were like cousins, November, and so that's always an interesting aspect that Memphis has. I know other schools do it too. We're not the only one that does it, but I do think that we provide an opportunity when you're a wraparound to meet multiple classes, enjoy multiple benefits of that. You have a guarantee that you get both summers when you do that as that way, and I think both summers provide a lot of valuable instruction.
Absolutely.
You have the benefit of the restoration trip sometimes being like immediately the thing that you do, or a campaign being the immediate thing that you do. Like all of those things happen that way. For me in January, it was campaign year. Or no, sorry, it was restoration trip year. So we went like immediately to the restoration trip. For you, you went right into a campaign.
Nope.
Oh, you didn't?
I was the restoration trip.
No, November. You started in November.
After the campaign is when I started.
Oh, that's right. So your first thing was also the restoration trip. Yeah. So there you go.
After the lectureship, of course.
That's how it goes, yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that. I forgot. But I wasn't a November wraparound, so what do I know?
Not much.
A lot. No, about nothing. But the 2-year program, okay? As a wraparound, obviously that's difficult. That's tough. Talk about actually navigating that first quarter. What was the hardest quarter you took? We'll do both years. Year 1, hardest quarter you took.
Fourth quarter.
Yep, same.
100%.
Yeah. Eternal outline, and you have the book of James you have to memorize. You got all those things, but you did it. And I managed to make it through as well as a lot of other people did too. What about the second year?
I'd say first quarter, second year.
Yeah,
with
a lot
the GBI
of people.
paper.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. I remember my GBI paper. It was very difficult too. Yes, Second Century New Testament Apocrypha does not exist, but Brother Mosier made me write on that. And so I'll never forget telling him that it didn't exist, and he was like, "Why did you write on that then?" I said, "You told me to," and he goes, Oh, my bad. I was like, really? I spent 10 weeks of my life basically on something there were only like 3 total books on. And all 3 of those books are like, yeah, this doesn't exist. And I had to write a 20-page paper. How long was yours?
15 to 20.
Yeah, see.
I know.
It was harder when I went to school because I think it was OC that said that theirs was like 15 or 10 or whatever, 12.
I think it was 15.
15.
For them still.
He'll sometimes vary it. Some years he'll come in at like 20. Some years he comes in and it's 15. You just never know.
We were supposed to have a 20-page paper, and then somebody asked him, and then he gave a little grace with 15 to 20. So that was kind of nice.
Yeah. Lucky.
I know.
Okay. I know you're going to the graduate program.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get emotional, but I have to ask, the idea of this. What are you going to miss about the 2-year program?
That's a tough question.
That's why I asked it.
No. Thank you. Honestly, like this past quarter, I've met a lot of new guys, being with them in the first-year classroom, and I will miss being around them. Even one of our new students who we have affectionately called all caps Caleb, or caps lock Caleb.
Yeah.
His enthusiasm is wonderful, and I'll miss being around that energy.
Who are you talking about?
Caleb.
I'm just kidding. We know Caleb's a bright light in the first-year classroom for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I miss some of the guys that I graduated with. Just the camaraderie we had in that second year. Because there was a noticeable difference from even the summer between the first and second year to that second year.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of, we were spending more time with each other, and I don't know, it just kind of all clicked.
Yeah.
I could say.
I think that happens a lot. The first year, especially for us wraparounds, is so tough when we start, depending on November or January especially. My first experience was third and fourth quarter. That's brutal. That's a hard time to start. But second quarter is not much better. You're still having courses like you just learned how to study.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and those of us that have been wraparounds, we get that because the first quarter, one of the first classes you have is how to study. Well, us wraparounds don't get that until we wrap back around and take the quarters that we have not had yet. And so I remember, for me, sitting in Brother Liddell's class and being like, are you kidding?
Right?
This is so simple. Why? But I wish I could learn that way now. I've spent 2 years learning a completely different way. And so I've always teased, like, that should not be the first quarter. And then Dad says, where would we put it? I'm like, that's fair. You have to have it first quarter. Yeah. Like, do a seminar. Just have a seminar be required or something. But the principles that you learn during the 2 years are so beneficial. But the camaraderie is what really lasts for a lifetime, too. You leave here and you have the Word of God and you understand it a little bit better. You've got a little bit more of a grasp on it. But the way I've always viewed this and understood it is I would have had that anyway. As far as if I went to any, time of length to study the Word of God, if I spent 40 years in a church setting with a really good preacher and teacher in the Bible class program, I will learn the Word of God in those 40 years in a very efficient way. So we don't knock on that. We're not saying that we're better than traditional learning in any way, shape, or form. But I come to the school as a student and I gain not just a better understanding of the Word of God, but men who will become my brothers, who will help me when I get out of here with difficult things. And I still talk to a lot of the people on a regular basis that I graduated with. And I have a lot of friends that are graduates of other years that I'm incredibly close to. I still talk to Drew Suttles all the time, and we work together, of course, and other things, but I wrapped back around into Drew's class and had never met him before until I wrapped back around. So if I wasn't a wraparound, I'd have no idea who Drew is in the same way that I do now. And so I do say that wraparounds, we get the better benefit because of that.
You get, as you mentioned before, you get to meet an additional class.
Yeah.
I think it's like some 4 different classes that have gone, like you'll be a part of or know of 4 different classes, just being a wraparound.
Exactly. And I think that the camaraderie that you're going to miss is something we hear over and over again from people. You know, they don't want to leave. And I think that speaks to how special this place is. So let's talk about the place itself.
Mm-hmm.
I know it says Memphis School of Preaching. And I know that a lot of people are like, Memphis, the National Guard just came here recently, and it's so unsafe, and it's a terrible area. It's awful. We're really located in Germantown/Collierville.
Mm-hmm.
On our stretch of road where the church building and the school is located are $1 million homes. If you drive about 5 minutes, you know, you'll be passing tons of homes that are $1 million homes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're a decent 25 to 30 minute drive from the bad parts of Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to speak just for a moment on your end of your experience, you know, living here, what it was like to live here, what the benefits were, all of those kinds of things.
Well, one of the reasons that I came to Memphis was because of the housing on campus. I don't know of any other preaching school as of right now that offers anything like that. You can't find even an apartment around here for less than $1,000. It's probably closer to $1,200 to $1,800. I know you've done some research at some point.
Yeah, there's a one-bedroom apartment a couple of years ago when we looked at it was like $1,800 after utilities, $2,000 after utilities, something like that. One bedroom, and though we're not like legally allowed to give the number out that we pay here because it fluctuates and all of that kind of stuff, I have to say that so you don't say it accidentally. I know not to say it. You would probably accidentally blurt it out, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? So, though we're not allowed to do that just because it changes and fluctuates, and we can't, I couldn't be like, it's $100 a month, and then it'd be like $500 the next year. So,
yeah,
whatever the number is somewhere between $0 and dollars. And we have the ability to do a much more affordable structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard the claim sometimes be made that we're making millions of dollars a year off our students. You're paying just for utilities by the time you really stop and look at it all. And we're blessed that these apartment buildings are paid off. We don't pocket what you give us, and we don't charge what we really could charge.
Absolutely.
And we do that because we understand the work of the kingdom is to get the work of the kingdom spread. And so we look at this as an understanding of how do we help?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited that we help people in that way. And I think the apartments do set us apart. There are other schools that are blessed to have housing. I do not disagree with your assessment, though, that I do believe we are one of the only schools blessed of just generic preaching school, not a college or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're one of the only schools of preaching that I know that has, what would be the right way to phrase it? The standard of apartments and the level of apartment housing that we have. You know, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. 4 apartment buildings, 8 units in each building. That is a big benefit, a massive weight off of people's shoulders to not have to worry about housing. And it's a 2-minute walk from the school to the apartments. It's a 25-something second drive. Most of us drive that, and I don't blame us. You know, I drive it every day too. I think a lot of that's because it's easier than get out to lunch, you know, when you drive up. But it's not uncommon for us to walk up to the school late at night. You've seen me do that before. I've seen you do it before. And so talk a little bit more about just the Germantown, Collierville area.
It is one of the safer, like, large city areas that I've lived in. I haven't lived in many different large city formats like this, but just having the access to as many restaurants that we have and just the different amenities is wonderful. It makes, whenever we do have downtime, because there's some, not all the time, but some, it makes it nice to be able to go see a movie or go bowling for rather cheap on a Friday night from 10 to midnight. I think we've got a bowling tournament type thing going on between ourselves.
Nice.
On that. There's a little trophy.
I don't think to go one time. I'm actually a pretty decent bowler, believe it or not.
Well, when you're in town on a Friday night,
which is hardly ever, but when that happens, I'll be looking forward to maybe going out and bowl with y'all.
But it's such a bubble compared to like the 25, 30 minutes away and the bad parts of Memphis. don't really deal with that. And as for the National Guard, I still have not yet seen anybody.
Same. I've been out of town some of that, but I've also been in town for some of it, and I've been fortunate. It just tells you where we live is safe.
Yeah.
All right, Drew. It's been 40 minutes.
Wow.
We need to podcast for another 2 years. No, we want to leave with this. This is kind of a whetting of the appetite of what this field notes program will sometimes be. I will say this. Sometimes it'll be me doing solo stuff by myself, and I've got equipment that I'll be taking to hotels and setting up and recording videos and different things. And sometimes it'll be like we're doing right now, where we're talking about the Bible, or we're talking about school, or just in general. But give me 3 reasons why someone should attend the Memphis School of Preaching. Your text takeaways, if you will.
The first would be the instruction. I firmly believe that we have some of the best instructors here, and being able to sit at their feet and learn from them has been truly spectacular over the past 2 years. And looking forward to learning from other instructors through the apologetics and other graduate programs. The second, the safety, in the sense of like we were just talking about, and how you really don't have to worry about crime in this area to the same extent as where the school used to be, or even in other areas of the country. The third, the family aspect. It's hard to go through this school alone, but by going through the school, you meet some of the greatest people. You create many different bonds, and it helps you to continue on through the school, even through those hard times. Plus, we do a lot of fun stuff, like go bowling, go see movies. Sometimes we'll have a fire, do singing nights, and they're actually starting to do some other things together as a student body, and that is wonderful to see, just the camaraderie that comes with it, to where you can really say, this is my family, when you walk out with that diploma, and that makes graduation a bit more bittersweet then.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, graduation is, man, it's a hard time, because you're getting to a point of, okay, I'm done. But then you're like, oh, I'm done. And I'm done here. I think that's where the graduate program is really going to benefit a lot of our graduates that are in school right now, but also our graduates that have left school and might be on the fence about, leaving ministry. Come to the graduate program, reset, recharge your batteries as far as falling in love with the Word of God again. No requirement, responsibilities other than just to study and turn in your assignments. And I think that will be a major benefit to those on both sides of that coin.
Absolutely.
Drew.
Michael.
You know.
I know.
And you know about the school because you've been through it now. You have received alumni status, and so your dues are expected to be paid. There's a lot of alumni right now that just groaned collectively for you, like, oh no. But no, we hope and pray.
I'll see Brother Mosier in a couple weeks.
That's right. He's actually here right now. No. But we hope that you'll have the ability to influence others to come to Christ, first and foremost, with the knowledge and the training that you've been given, but also that you would have the ability to influence others to come to this school. We can't do what we do without men encouraging other men. Think about where you would be if Dustin did not encourage you to come. Would you have gone? Maybe.
Maybe, but I may have gone somewhere completely different than Memphis.
And so a lot of credit is to be given to Dustin as well for...
Shout out Dustin.
Absolutely. For helping kind of steer you this direction. And I tell this all the time when I've gone to congregations that are looking for a preacher. They have me come out and do like one-day Sundays of like trying to meet the congregation, see who might be out there preaching-wise. But I often tell them I do a sermon on evangelism, and one of the things that I always say is you and the congregation will meet people your preacher will never hope to meet because you're living next to them, or you work with them, or you interact with them in the community, bowling leagues or whatever it is that you might be in. You think about the people that we know. You've got a waiter that is a chef at Osaka, and you've become quite close to him and are trying to get him, to learn more about the Word of God and influence as much as you can. We've got Kayla over there at the Mexican restaurant that we talk about all the time, and how influential that relationship has been because of the school. And you think about all of those things. We know those people, but a lot of the people listening have no idea who we're talking about. Well, it's the same for them. They know people that we don't know. Yeah. And so you're going to meet young men aged 18 to 80. That's our age range. You're going to meet men like that they're not going to think they can do it. They're not going to think that it's possible. We need you, listeners, as well as you, Drew, to be encouraging them to come to this good school. Not because I want to continue on as a recruiter, but because we need more men to be out in the fold preaching and teaching the truth. So, Drew, thank you for sitting down with me. You have anything else you want to say before we stop?
One thing.
Yeah.
Brother Webster has been harping on us, you could say, to do the same thing. Once you leave here, Memphis, you have a responsibility to fill your seat. And I think if even we do that just once as alumni, we're doing our part in helping that. We should be striving to do more, but sometimes all we can find is that one.
Yeah.
And for Dustin, I hope that he can find another for himself that is not just me that he can help send to the school, but
anyone you may send to the school reflects back on him. And that is, as we close, I'll say this, that is something that makes my job so enjoyable. I get to watch like Jordan Bohannon graduate, who was not thinking about coming to the school for a while. I'm going to go to Freed first. And Freed was good for him. He found his wife. But then he decided he wanted to preach, and now he's preaching in a congregation there in Livingston, Tennessee. And my heart soars when I see people like Caden Mallory and others that they go through the school and then they're out there preaching. And I had a small part to play in recruiting a lot of people. And the small parts that I play, whatever good is done from the pulpit by those individuals, whatever truth is preached and taught, though I wasn't their instructor, I certainly did have a hand in bringing them in some fashion or another. And so I always feel like I can beam with pride that they are out there doing the work and fighting the fight. And it's one more person that I have brought to the school. And so I agree with Brother Webster. I like the way he puts it. You have a responsibility to fill your seat. Maybe you're listening to this and you are one that is a graduate of the school. Time to fill that seat. Maybe you've been out for a while and you haven't found anybody, or you've got somebody that you think, but you're not quite sure. Reach out to me. My information will be down in the show notes below, and we'll be happy to talk to you about a tour to schedule, or me to come out and do a one-day Sunday, have the opportunity to meet with you all. I do leadership seminars as well, because that's my degree as a ministerial leadership, why we need preachers, elders, deacons, Bible class teachers. All of those things are covered in that seminar, and the importance of them from a biblical understanding. And so hopefully there'll be a way to help. You can find our Linktree information for the school down in the show notes. It has all of this stuff informationally put in there. I just want to help in any way that I can. And so, Drew, thank you so much for being with us. This is so new. Absolutely. This is so new. I don't have an ending catchphrase yet. So, please God now. So our eternity can be far better. And hopefully we'll have more in eternity because of the good work of the Memphis School of Preaching.
Amen.
See you next time.